My name is Jillian Fieser, and I represent the Pink Pro Team. I will be sharing my team's first argument to help convince you that the United States should have used the atomic bombs against Japan to end World War II. My overall argument is called The Need to End and Prevent Future Bloodshed. While sharing information about my argument with you, I will share 3 sub-arguments that will help prove that the United States should have used the atomic bombs against Japan. Each of these sub-arguments will support my main argument of needing to end war and prevent future bloodshed. My 3 sub-arguments are 1. Japan refused to surrender. 2. The U.S. was trying to prevent many of their soldiers from getting killed. And 3. To prove the U.S. power to Russia and prevent a future war with them. First, I will discuss my sub-argument 1, which is called Japan refused to surrender. This sub-argument is very important to our debate because the fact that Japan would not surrender. Because Japan refused to surrender, that led us to drop the bomb on them, which forced them to surrender. An article about the debate over the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki said that it was thought Japan would not surrender unless there was an overwhelming demonstration of destructive capability. This relates to this sub-argument because the U.S. thought Japan would not surrender unless someone used a very powerful weapon on them, which is where the nuclear weapons came in. We were trying to get Japan to surrender, and we used this weapon to do just that. Another quote to support this sub-argument was shared by Michael Barnes, who once said that survey makes the obvious observation that Japan might have surrendered earlier if they had a different government. This relates to this sub-argument because this is saying that if Japan would have had a different type of government, they would have surrendered already. However, because they had an emperor who they thought was a god, they refused to surrender. Japan was not surrendering, but it was said that it was because of their government, so this seemed like the only way to take down that form of government. Next, I will discuss sub-argument 2, which is about how the U.S. was trying to prevent many of their soldiers from getting killed. This sub-argument is very important to our debate because the U.S. dropped the bomb instead of attacking in a way that could have killed many of our soldiers. The article about the debate over the atomic bombings on Japan once said that those who argue in favor of the decision to drop the atom bombs believe massive casualties on both sides would have occurred in Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of Japan. This relates to this sub-argument because this is saying that if we would have dropped the bomb, then we would have invaded Japan. And if that happened, many of the U.S. soldiers would have been killed. If we would have invaded, there was a higher amount of deaths possible in the U.S. Army as well as the Japanese Army. Another quote to support this sub-argument was shared by the same article I just talked about. It said that the U.S. President Truman stated in 1953 he had then advised the U.S. casualties range from 250,000 to 1 million men. This relates to this sub-argument because the amount of soldiers that could have been killed if we had invaded was from 250 to 1 million men. There could have been up to 1 million people killed in the U.S. Army if we had invaded instead of dropping the bomb, which saves all of these American lives. Finally, I will discuss sub-argument 3, which is about proving the United States' power to Russia in order to prevent a war with them. This sub-argument is very important to our debate because we wanted to use the bomb on Japan in order to show Russia that we were very powerful. Secretary of State Burns once said that Russia might be more manageable if impressed by the American military, and that demonstration of the bomb on Japan might impress Russia. This relates to the sub-argument because James Burns said that they might be able to manage Russia if they impressed them by dropping the bombs on Japan. Additionally, we wanted Russia to be scared of attacking us. The Cold War was coming up quickly after World War II, so we want them to be scared of the U.S. power. If we were to show Russia how powerful our weapons were, we could impress them. Another quote to support this sub-argument was shared by Michael Barnes, who once said that just before leaving Potsdam, Truman did feel obliged to say something to the Soviet leader. He writes in his diary, "I casually mentioned to Stalin that we had a new weapon of unusual destructive force." This relates to this sub-argument because Truman told the Soviet leader that they had a very powerful weapon. I think he did this because he was trying to impress them. This was another way that we were trying to impress Russia. Because of all this information, I have clearly proven that the United States definitely should have used the atomic bombs to end World War against Japan.